So today on our CIRS Alum series, we have Gaurav Jagwani with us. Uh, he is
Yay.
one of our he is one of our early CIRS alums, and he's a spectacular musician. And he was actually a part of an acoustic duo called the Yellow Pages. He dropped his solo album named Silence and a Child in 2016. The music he composed for a short silent film called Flea won Best Film at various film festivals back in Europe. He was also featured in Rolling Stone India. I would also like to say that Gaurav is very creative with his puns, which is quite a talent, I must say. I checked that out on his Instagram. He's very creative with his puns, um, and and is a very proud Valmiki. We're
That's
very
true.
glad to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So we're just gonna step right in,
Sure.
and let's start with the beginning of your music career. So, how did you step into the world of music?
So I was brought up in a household where my father was playing a lot of Hindustani classical music and the Beatles. So every Sunday would be a time when I would wake up to either the Beatles playing in the background or Hindustani classical. So naturally, when I started listening to music, my first couple of styles that I would listen to were very British English music from the 60s and 70s, which is where the Beatles started, or older than that, Hindustani classical music. So my dad is very musically inclined, and I feel that uh, I will always be the second best musician and singer in the room when he's there. I can never be the best because he's an amazing singer, and um, he's not very well versed with instruments, but he's got a grip on whatever he does really well. So music actually started for me way back then. As a singer, it took me a while to understand that. But as a musician, my brother actually picked up the guitar before I did, and he knew he just had this instinct in him. He was also studying in CIRS. He just had this instinct in him that if Gaurav picks the guitar up, I'm pretty sure in a month or two I have to drop it because he's going to be better at me at it or something of that sort. And that's where it started. I went to shortly after CIRS. I went to a boarding school in Bangalore, and generally been the kind of person that was really involved with modern rock music and modern English music. They told me to they put me in the band, and I obliged. And I was doing backing vocals and playing a little key, and then they said, "Listen, you're too big to be in the background. You know, you're big, like you've got a big presence about yourself. Why don't you come in the foreground and start singing and pick up a better instrument?" So I did. So what happened was I picked up the bass, and that's kind of when I started really exposing myself to the world of guitars and bass, and today I have way too many guitars for my for the real estate in the house. Way too many. So yeah, I mean, it's quite a journey because I wouldn't necessarily listen to a lot of music when I started picking the instrument up. Then I would just try and experiment and try and play songs that I was fond of. But it was not something I was keen on or anything. It just became a super passion. And then for 2 years, I did music full time when I was taking a break from pretty much anything academic related in 2009 and 2010 is when I took a break and I was just doing music full time. But I actually started writing songs in 2006 or seven. So before that, it was just trying to mimic and trying to mock the other musicians and artists that I like. But my songwriting journey started about 12 years back, well, about 13 years back. But my musical journey goes back to my childhood. So it's quite a long journey.
That's so wholesome, I think. Um, I just want to ask, how did CIRS nurture your love for music?
So it was it's a strange journey at CRS what I went through with music. Like I said, I had this love hate relationship with music. I remember in sixth grade, I could always play the keyboard by ear because my father had this keyboard always in the house, or a harmonium. And the first instrument that I actually tried to learn was the tabla. And just it was an instrument that kind of intrigued me. So there was a teacher who came in when I joined in sixth grade, who was a mridangam and tabla teacher. So obviously I was working, not working, but I was trying to get a grasp of the instrument uh, under him. But then for some reason it just didn't work out, and then we were just confined to doing what we had to do in music class, which was pretty basic. But I'm telling you that the turning point was in eighth grade when I was put in a situation where I had to do something musically creative in order for me to get to ninth grade. And I kid you not, in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I was probably second from the bottom with respect to music. Academically strong, and I was topping my class in sixth and seventh grade. Eighth grade, I was pretty much up there as well. But musically, I was so not inclined. But that one little moment, which was a fear, actually brought music into my life. And then in eighth grade, I happened to be I happened to get to know this kid called Shishir, who was my classmate, and he was a keyboard player as well. And we just formed this musical bond, which lasted us till tenth grade, and then it was just simple. But CRS was we were it was it was very it's very intimidating to see the choir at CIRS sing because you know they're so good, and everyone comes from a different background, and everyone's got their own kind of expertise with respect to music, and you really can't pinpoint who is good or who is bad or who is mediocre. You can't really pinpoint because everyone's got their own little background story with respect to music or just life in general. But I remember there were so many people in our class that were so talented, and I knew I never stood a chance of even remotely on their level with respect to music. So because I knew I didn't stand a chance, I would just completely go on the other tangent and just be really soft and quiet about this. I'm a very loud personality. I'm not a loud person, but my personality speaks a lot because I'm very confident and I go about my life that way. But with music, it was just so quiet for the first 3 years in CRS, and then I saw so many people just take up the stage. And um, the actual first time that I actually sang, I kid you not, the first time I sang was on my 10th grade farewell, like the graduation little celebration we had in school. That's the first time I went on stage, and they thought I was going to give a speech. My classmates and whoever was present, they thought I was going to give a speech. And I just went onto the mic and sang a cappella. And everyone's like, where did that come from? Because they've never heard me really sing. They knew I could sing, but they never really heard me sing. So I never had the mic in front of me during RT or anything of that sort. It was just not happening, not happening. I still am not the greatest singer. I know I'm not the greatest singer, but my strengths lie in the fact that I know I can write a good song. And that's kind of what I am today. So when people say, oh, you're the singer songwriter. So I was like, yeah, I'm the songwriter that can sing. I'm not the singer songwriter because I've always been a songwriter first over the last couple of years, over the last dozen years. But before that, I was just this kind of musician or kind of person who was just inclined towards music. But CRS was really a tipping point. In eighth grade was the limit. That's the reason I am playing music today is because of that one little incident in my life.
I think one of CRS's strong points is its entire musical team that has, peaked over the years.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not. When we were in school, it was just one teacher teaching us uh, very basic, so we weren't really exposed. But because you attend the RTs and you attend various functions, and you there's always music playing, whether you think of it um, as an actual song, or you think of it as the bell ringing to say the class is over. It's all musically inclined. That's why I I knew I was gonna be good or decent at music because I was mathematically inclined. And So everything's on count. Everything's based on count, and I could do mental math really well. Still can't do it. So naturally, for me, the grasp of music was very very easy. I remember in eighth or ninth grade, we did a music quiz, and it was a given that Gaurav has to take part in this because he is well versed with music knowledge from all over the world, which is kind of true. I do like to read up a lot on music. Fun fact that when I was studying in Australia, I was busking on the streets, trying to make some money on the side, and I was writing for Rolling Stone in Australia. So this interview that happened at Rolling Stone in India, it's basically like took me 12 years from writing, 14 years from writing for Rolling Stone to actually be featured on as an artist.
Oh
So
my
it's like
God.
it's a full circle that's come through. But I'm I'm glad. I'm glad I do what I do. It's amazing.
I mean, I would say on behalf of the entire CRS team, we're proud to have you as an alum. It's really great
Oh,
seeing. Yeah, I was talking to one of our teachers the other day, and they were just like, "We know Gaurav, he's so talented," and just great things to say about you.
right. I'm
Um,
excited. Which teacher is this? I want to talk to this teacher as well.
um, I'm bad with names. I was talking to Sanatan. I don't think you know him, Sanatan Bhaiya. He's our recent spiritual teacher. So I think he
Right,
coordinated the
right, right.
entire
I do.
25th
Yes, yes,
anniversary
yes, yes.
program.
I'm aware. I'm aware. Yeah,
Hmm.
I was talking primarily to Swamiji, and but it was nice. It was nice to be part of something that I mean, there was a reason I did not sing during the 25th anniversary because I saw the talents and I'm like, these guys are 17, 16, 15, 14 year olds singing. And this 34-year-old, 35-year-old fossil. I should not sing. I should just stay away from all of this and just be the guy that kind of guides them through the whole thing. So, honestly, I am amazed at how many students are so up to date with what modern music is about, modern pop, modern rock, whatever it may be. I am so amazed that people knew the songs that I listen to nowadays on not radio, but just generally on Spotify and various music apps. I am so amazed. I'm so happy because I'm a modern rock person, modern music person as well. They didn't know the Beatles, but that's okay. The Beatles is way too old for guys like you and me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about your journey writing your first album, Silence and a Child?
So Silence and the Child is a collection of songs I actually wrote in 2008. So
Hmm.
um, the album in itself is really happy and it doesn't have they're not many sad moments, even though I think the album's got a lot of dynamics with respect to fast and with tempo. But the collection of songs, these collection of songs I wrote in 2008 were probably the first set of songs I wrote, and I always had this idea that I am going to name my first album "Silence and a Child." It's got a deep meaning. So "Silence and a Child" is um, so when I wrote this set of songs, my a lot of my friends' parents were going through separation or divorces, and I just thought to myself, I was like, what do divorced parents share or separated parents share? And they just share silence and a child. And because I wrote the tracks around the same time all of this was happening, so I just had to name the album that. So it was it wasn't a straightforward process because I probably wrote about 30 songs in that period. Happy, fast, it doesn't matter. It was just it's just a period. It's not a concept album. It's just the concept of when I wrote the songs. So I wrote about 30, 25, 30 songs in that probably that year or 2 years or so. And believe me, the 10 songs that actually made it onto the album, none of them were on the first time that I wanted to record the album. Not a single song was there on it. So it was obviously I chose 10 specific songs and tried to make it into a story. And that's how the whole album came about. But Yeah, so even though I released it in 2016, the songs probably date 10 years before that. Like the first set of songs I wrote. So yeah, I mean, I, I wish the album got more reach than it actually did, because I do know there are some songs in there which can probably, if a song can change something and bring about something positive in someone's life, I believe it's a good song. And I just feel, as a songwriter, I wrote some of my best work on that album. And it's kind of gone under the radar because as a musician, I'm very low key. I don't like to put myself and market myself out there. So it's kind of gone under the radar. But I do know that there are a few people that still listen to the album and still think that, man, that song, thank you for writing that song. So yeah, it's a song I wrote when I was the album I wrote when I was in my 20s, and I released it when I was 30. So it's a huge it was a huge influence in what my music sounds like today.
That sounds so great. I'm still hungover on the brilliance of the name of the album. So
Yeah,
I'm still hungover that.
it's a story not many people know. So yeah, it's not for it. It's a concept album that with respect to time, not theme. So then they're happy songs on the album. So everyone's like, why is your album so dark and very philosophical? The title, and then tell them this, and they're like, whoa, and exactly your reaction. So yeah, it's just the concept of when I wrote it, and nothing to do with silence or a child.
So how has your musical journey been after the solo album?
I told myself before I was 30 I would release an album, and I happened to release an album with my band, the Yellow Pages, in 2012 when I was 27. And then Silence and Child came out in 2016 when my band broke up. My 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 focus wasn't just to release. 2012 was a big year for me because I released the band album. We went on tour, and then as a solo musician, I played big festivals across the country. So it was a big year for me musically. 2013, um, I released a single in 2013 called "Broken," which I reworked with another producer and released in 2018. So 2016 saw me releasing Silence in the Child. 2017, I released one single, it's a Christmas single or whatever. So that was something on the side. 2018, I released a couple of small albums, like a couple of EPs, which are one another conceptual series of EPs. In 2019, I released one more. In 2020, well, 45 days back, I released one album. So they're all very different from each other. So music has always been there. I've always been the songwriter that I wanted to be, and I I I I'm hoping someday I can be a songwriter full time and just consult with people and help them produce the track and help them write tracks that mean something to them, because I know I have way too many songs for me to release in my lifetime. So I know these songs are probably more appealing to someone else's voice. So I do hope that at someday I can work with artists and collaborate with artists and bring out the best in them and they bring out the best in me as well. So yeah, music is always been part of my life. If you go through my social media and everything, you'll know that my life has always been about music. There's music in some form or the other every single day of my life. So the journey never stops. It's just gonna go on. I'm proud that I can write songs that mean something to me and other people. The lockdown was a difficult time for me as a writer because there really wasn't a lot to write about because you weren't stepping out, weren't seeing things happen, you weren't experiencing things. It was just you're stuck in your house. So there wasn't a lot to write about. But then I started writing songs about God because that's what you look up to and you want to have hope and faith. And I do write a lot about God, but I wrote a bunch of songs about God, which we'll see. a release next year, early next year. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I've already recorded four of the songs out of the five. The fifth one will be recorded this Saturday. So that little set of songs should be out. I mean, should be ready by December. Mid-December it should be ready, but I'm going to release it probably closer to Feb.
We're so excited for that.
Ah, do you know what the title of the album is? So
I'm
it's
I'm gonna.
I'm going on wordplay and music. So because it's about God, I've actually named the title of the I've actually named the album Only God Knows Why, because I'm playing the guitar chords, right? So I've actually called it Only God Knows Why. I don't know if many people are gonna get it, but I mean, they think it's a comical album, but no, it's actually a very gospel folk
Mhm.
album dedicated to God. But I had to use some wordplay in it because I've never used wordplay in an album. This is the first time I'm doing it.
But like I just saw your Instagram highlight about your meals with views.
Oh
Um,
my God, that is embarrassing.
I just
That
went
is
through that.
so
I was
embarrassing.
like, he knows how to use wordplay. Like, that's actually
I
good.
I am such a punster. It's ridiculous. I love talking in puns and wordplay. It's just I can't do it with a straight face. That's the problem. So people know I'm always joking, but it's always me. I'm always the joker in a group of five people. Always.
I feel like puns are really dying these days. People don't use puns. It's like very hard to find people like that.
And if they use it, they I don't know. I if you ever want to talk, you can talk to me. I will talk to you in puns all day long.
Yes. Yes. Um, I wanted to ask, how was it being on stage, on tour, singing in front of people, the anxiety?
Anxiety is probably a wrong word to use because it's a lot of excitement for sure. So it's been a while since I've been on stage, and um, on Instagram as well. I did a couple of live gigs,
Lives, yeah.
and there's one live gig that I did, which was probably an hour long gig, and I mentioned while I'm singing, and I'm like a Zoom gig or whatever, and I recorded on Instagram as well, and I I mentioned on that I was like, this is so weird because you finish the song and then people have to unmute themselves to say, "Hey, I like that song," why? And they start clapping, and I'm like, it's so not it's so not instant, the reactions, and it's a little weird, but I've always loved being on stage. Like for me, uh, me being behind the mic not necessarily means me being behind the mic singing. I love talking, so I'm very, very, very happy to have a mic in my hand. Uh, and it's just about the interaction for me. I mean, like today I've played in front of audiences of 25,000, but my favorite audiences are the one where they're like 25, 30 people. It's absolutely perfect because that's when you actually really interact with people, and you can actually dedicate a song to each person on the audience. And I like it to be personal. So I miss being on stage, obviously, but I know safety and health is most important right now. So
Mhm.
taking a back seat, and hopefully sometime soon I'll get back to stage. But yeah, I mean, I've played all over the world, and I'm just happy to be part of some stage at some point. Now I'm just hoping to just play live at some point. Yeah.
Would you ever want to change anything about your entire journey?
Um, I wish I started playing the guitar a lot earlier. I don't
Mhm.
believe I could have written songs when I was 13 and 14, like how people are writing today. I just wish I just started playing the guitar earlier because you kind of feel that because I haven't been taught any instruments or singing, I kind of feel that I let myself down as a musician. Now that I know I'm considered the peer with peers in the music community, I'm not considered an outsider, and I'm considered part of a music community in Bombay and in India. I just feel I let myself down by not starting quickly and I'm a lot older than the other guys that are there in the community. They're in their 20s, and I'm like, oh man, these guys are so talented, and they probably started when they were like 10 and 12, and I started when I was 21. So when I was 20, I started really playing the guitar. So I was like, I probably started late, but I guess that's the only. Is it a regret? Probably not. Is it? Is it something I would change? Definitely. I wish I'd studied theory of music because just I wanted to be the best version of myself, and I think I let myself down by not taking it seriously when I could. When I had the opportunity, I didn't do it. That's the only thing.
Hmm. So, but there must be a growth from your first album to recent one.
Uh, so yeah, the measure of growth for me as a songwriter is the songs I write. It's just as simple as that. It's just the depth and meaning of the songs, and naturally there's a growth because these songs, like I said, were written way back then in 2007 and 8 and 6. So there's naturally a progress in growth of the songs that I've written. But yeah, I think musically I'm challenging myself a little bit now. I used to write generic pop songs earlier. Now I'm kind of exploring different genres. I started writing blues music a couple of years back, and I can boast quite a few of blues songs now. And really exploring the folk and countryside is probably my backbone right now. Before it was pop, now it's probably folk and country. So I'm exploring different genres musically, but my songs have taken another twist altogether, and I'm so glad that I can write about pretty much anything under the sky right now. Before I was kind of writing about the same concept and same things about life, but now I think I'm a little confident in writing about pretty much anything.
I think that's the best thing about being an artist. Like you can express yourself about anything that's there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're always learning. You're never gonna
Hmm.
stop learning. It's never gonna be a destination. They're only stations along the journey of life. But yeah, I'm always listening to different kinds of music and just trying to get inspired from different styles and different people and different lyric concepts. And yeah, I mean, I occasionally go through a writer's block, which I am going through right now, not being able to write a song for the longest time. And it's okay. It's okay. This is the period of learning. This is the time when I have to explore different styles and focus on not thinking about it too much. If I think about it and overthink it, I'm not going to get anywhere. So I just want to take it one step at a time, and hopefully the results will come out. But I am so excited to release this next EP in Feb. I'm just so excited because I know this is an album that no one thought would come. I wrote an album called Whiskey and Philosophy, and I released it in October. And this album, Only God Knows Why, is an album that is so different from that album, which is good. I don't want people to think I am this one trick pony. So I'm happy to have started writing this album, and yeah, you'll be the first one to get it.
I would be immensely grateful. Oh my
I
God.
promise you. I
Thank
promise
you.
you. I will send all the songs to you first.
Thank you. I think like that's the I was like kind of shocked because singers right now, you take the famous singers, it's just like you get the same type of music again and again in the next albums. So I think that change of music, it's very
Yeah. So so
refreshing.
so mo- so 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 current pop and rock and what are current modern musicians and singers, they have a formula, right? If they know
Mhm.
one song works, they're gonna write 10 songs in the same style because they know it works. It might not be the most meaningful song, but melodically, if it works, it works. Take example Coldplay. Coldplay is a band that is just repeating its formula over and over again. When they do something different, it's not well received. They wrote an album called Ghost Stories in 2015, or was it earlier than that? Maybe 13. I don't know. Which was an album that was probably not received as well as the other albums because it wasn't the showmanship. It wasn't like in your face kind of when you see it live. It wasn't confetti in your face and production value. It was just simple songwriting, which is if they stuck to that from the first album, they would be big, but they won't be as big as they are today. But now they've gone back to that formula. They and released this A Head Full of Dreams album in 2017, which just took over the world, multicolored confetti and all that craziness. And now last year they released an album called Everyday Life, which is so different from the previous albums, and that's why they're not touring with it. I mean, they can't tour because of COVID anyway, but it's just an album that's honest. And I feel musicians always should challenge themselves with genres, but the pop singers they won't do it. They won't do it. Like the best example for someone challenging themselves is Kelly Clarkson.
Mhm.
Kelly Clarkson being the first American Idol winner back in the early 2000s was a straight up jazz vocalist, and she's from Texas, which is the home of like outlaw
Country.
country music.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then she explored pop, then she explored rock, and she explored country, and she's explored disco pop. She's explored every genre. So she's probably, I mean, except metal, which is an extreme genre itself. She's explored everything, which is amazing. But then she will still go back to her roots. She's like, no, I'm a good pop singer. I'm a good country singer. I will go back to my roots, which is important. I mean, like today, I don't want to be known as this guy that plays only country music. So that's why I always say I play country, folk, and blues. But at the end of the day, I am an indie musician. I still listen to my rock music and my heavy music. I still listen to Hindustani instrumental music as well. So I kind of try and blend all genres together and create something that's unique to me. But yeah, I mean, you have to keep exploring yourself. You can't keep yourself in one box. So you're not going to get far. At least in India, you won't
Mm,
get far. You just get repeat value, but you won't get additional value.
I completely agree. Me being a person who does not have a single musical bone in my body, the only thing that I do is listen to music. And I can just say that we
If everyone's a
listeners,
musician, if everyone's a musician, then who's the audience?
I agree. Yeah,
Perfect. So you're equally important to musicians as the bandmates are. So
exactly. Like, we're so grateful for you musicians to be out there, work your minds, and create music for us. Incredibly
absolutely
grateful.
honored to be part of your listening playlists.